Welcome into the Big Play Cleveland Show right here on the Big Play Sports Network. I'm Nick Padone. Chris McNeil joining me on the program. No Gab Cruz. She's busy filming some other Big Play Sports Network content. Hanging out here post-Memorial Day in our studio, Burke Lakefront Airport. Chris, how was the weekend?
Us and the midges out here. The midges have returned once again. Hopefully they work their way over to Progressive Field, maybe getting Shohei Ohtani's eye a little bit. It'd be nice to get a little bit of help out there because right now we've got a tough one going on with LA. But I had a good weekend, the start of summer. Out there swimming in the pool, saw a movie, so kind of did all the summer activities and getting things kicked off. Kids are done with school now here this week, so I'm excited about really getting into the swing of things. Browns also getting in the swing of things. We got OTAs this week.
Yeah, fun week, busy week. Obviously, Cleveland Browns OTAs, just one, another box to check in the Cleveland Browns offseason schedule and that big list of dates that they put out at the beginning of every offseason. Organized team activities for our Browns start this week. NBA playoffs also continue to roll on. Bill Simmons had some fun ideas about what the Cleveland Cavaliers could do this offseason.
I knew you'd pick up on that.
Sure, we will get into that later in the program. So we'll have that, and obviously our Bringing the Heat segment with Jensen Lewis. So packed show, Cleveland headlines brought to you by Fairway Ford. We have our featured interview with Noah Weiskopf, Cleveland Browns insider, will join us in studio, presented by Garage Beer. And then we're getting into Bringing the Heat, talking all things guards with Jensen Lewis, presented by Northeast Factory Direct. Chris, finally, we'll wrap the show with Fill in the Blank, presented by Pure AV. Keep it locked right here on the Big Play Cleveland Show. We're talking Browns. We're talking OTAs with Noah Weiskopf. Don't go anywhere.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Fairway Ford, the largest inventory of new Ford trucks, the lowest pricing, and same hometown level of service. Visit fairwayfordohio.com today.
Welcome on back into the Big Play Cleveland Show. It is time for our Cleveland headlines, presented by our good friends over at Fairway Ford.
Nick, Fairway Ford offers complete customization for any vehicle on their lot with their Fairway Black Label line. This series features custom upgrades like premium wheel and tire packages, a wide variety of level or lift kits, performance enhancements, and fully customized interior options. And every Fairway Black Label truck comes with a Rhino spray-in bed liner. Whether you're looking for an aggressive off-road stance, a bold street presence, or a one-of-a-kind build, Fairway Black Label delivers. As a bonus, many of these upgrades can be financed for as little as 0% APR, depending upon the vehicle line. If you dream it, they can build it. Visit fairwayfordohio.com to explore their current Black Label inventory or give them a call to start designing yours today.
Alrighty, we will jump into Guardians during our Bringing the Heat segment with Jensen Lewis in a little bit. Last week on the show, we were talking some Cavs, Chris, and we were doing the Evan Mobley for Giannis debate, and then Big Play made some noise on social for the Jared Allen versus Draymond Green debate. This week, the latest mock trade or offseason happening for the Cavs came courtesy of the Bill Simmons podcast. Bill Simmons proposed the Cavs trade Jared Allen and DeAndre Hunter for LeBron, or LeBron James opts out of his contract and signs the mid-level exception with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Chris, I feel like we know where I fall on this as a show. Does a 41-year-old LeBron make this team that much better than Jared Allen and DeAndre Hunter? I'll ask you first.
First of all, is this even possible with the apron? Are both of these scenarios something that can happen? Because I see a lot of things thrown out there on Twitter. I see it all around social media, and they aren't actually possible with the way that we're financially constructed right now. But I'll go with the assumption that we are. And if we are under either of these scenarios, I still don't think so. I don't think I make a move right now for LeBron James. I like the core as it is. I know that we've been rough in the playoffs the last few years, and they haven't shown and met expectations once the lights are the brightest, Nick. But at the same time, this is a really young core. And I don't know if adding a LeBron James right now helps or hinders this team to get to the next level. I know, it sounds really good on paper. It sounds like, boy, this is the answer. This could be the silver bullet. You bring on the guy who's still, in my mind, the face of the NBA right now, and certainly loved in Cleveland for what he did here. Boy, that sounds like it'd be very tempting, but I don't think it's going to help us get to that next level the way a lot of people think it will.
Yeah,
including yourself, by the way.
As somebody that wants it to happen, the trade is a little rich for my blood. I don't know that I'm getting rid of Jared Allen and DeAndre Hunter.
Who's
for
the big in the middle in that situation?
I mean, it would be Mobley, which I want. Here's the thing. Here's what I would do, Chris.
Okay.
Wouldn't you much rather if LeBron in either of these scenarios, LeBron would have to want to come back. He has a no trade clause, so this isn't happening unless LeBron wants to come back. Then just opt out of that deal with the Lakers and come back in free agency. It is kind of the route that I would much rather.
And he'd have
see
to
them
sign
take.
for like the veteran minimum at that point, right?
The Cavs have the mid-level exception, so he'd be able to make a good bit more than the minimum. But my thing is I would then trade Allen for a matching contract to agree with that second apron, because I don't even think that the Allen and Hunter for LeBron works in the second apron unless you do a smaller move first. You're also losing both Jerome and Merrill in that scenario. Like, that's just all too convoluted in and of itself. But for the people in my mentions that wouldn't welcome LeBron back in free agency on a mid-level exception, I think you're absolutely nuts, because then that gives you the flexibility to do a Jared Allen trade and to clear the way for Mobley to become that bona fide 5, that alien 5 that we want him to be, that could stretch the floor and shoot the 3, take guys off the dribble, do all of the things that you see these bigs that are remaining in the playoffs do. That's what Miles Turner does. That's what Karl Anthony Towns does. That's what Evan Mobley can do, but Jared Allen is in his way. And I think having a LeBron James in that locker room will unlock these guys the rest of the way. Even Donovan Mitchell, even Darius Garland, who are all-star players in their own right. I just can't believe that there are people in Cleveland, Ohio that have slammed the door shut, completely shut. It's a non-starter to them to have the conversation about LeBron back in Cleveland, because if it wasn't for LeBron, our title drought is probably still ongoing.
Oh, not probably. It definitely is. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, it seems like a bridge backwards for us. I really don't think at my core that adding him, maybe under a mid-level exception, maybe if you do it through that route, I could see a possibility there. But I really, Nick, I mean, the future of this team is going to be the young guys. It isn't going to be LeBron James. I think that's really a bridge to nowhere here.
And and maybe that's where I'm looking at it the same but differently. I do think the future is these young guys, and I do think that next season could very well be the farewell tour. So on the farewell tour, learn as much as you can from the greatest to ever do it, specifically in this generation, for sure, the greatest to ever do it in LeBron James. And then the following year is when you need Mobley to be the best player on the roster. So that's 2027. You would need Mobley to be the best player on the roster. You need Darius to be a true all-star point guard come playoff time. You need Donovan to, commit to Cleveland to play with his idol LeBron. And then, Donovan will be a free agent after that season. So it is difficult to pull that off. But if LeBron wanted to make it happen, I think the organization would be silly to tell themselves, oh, well, we want to do it this time without LeBron.
Why stop there? We've already got Tristan there. Why don't you sign him for another year? You got Tristan, you got LeBron. Let's bring Love in. Let's just bring the band back together here, Nick.
Tristan, yes, because that's easy.
He's already sitting there. I mean, what else? He's the best cheerleader in the league, I think.
For sure. It completely does blow my mind that people are so adamantly against it. Alrighty, real quick before we go into break, Browns OTAs, we'll talk. We got a big breakdown coming with Noah Weisskopf. Don't miss that. Chris, I do want to ask you, though, what are you most interested in seeing in these voluntary, practices? Because this isn't training camp. We're not going to learn a whole lot here. Depth chart battles, rookies, all this stuff. What are you looking to see out of OTAs?
I'd love to be a nerd and sit up here and say I'm really looking at those battles for like long snapper or something that's really deep. I'm like everybody else. I'm going to be looking at these quarterbacks, Nick. I want to see how the young guys throw. I want to see if guys like Flacco have anything left in the tank out there and whether they can look good. I want to see how that battle really shakes out, because we'll go over it with Noah. I think there's a perception issue here between the organization and the fans. I think the organization right now thinks Kenny Pickett's the number one guy on the depth chart. I think the fans think right now Joe Flacco's the number one on the depth chart. And then for the two rookies, I think the organization's also got those guys flipped. flipped based upon the order that they drafted him in. And I think the fans really think Sanders is going to be the top guy coming out of those rookies. So it'll be interesting to see as those guys are kind of finding their place and finding the order that they're going to go into the season with for these quarterbacks.
Well, we'll have more Cleveland sports conversation for you. Stay locked in with us right here on the Big Play Cleveland Show. More of us right ahead after this.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Garage Beer. No bitterness, no frills, no IPA, just beer-flavored beer. Find local retailers who sell garage beer near you by visiting drinkgaragebeer.com.
Welcome on back into the Big Play Cleveland Show. Today's featured interview is brought to you by our friends at Garage Beer. Garage Beer, the perfect beer for any occasion, perfect beer for Cleveland Browns OTAs. It's small batch, no frills, no bitterness. It is just beer that tastes like beer. The garage is always open with Garage Beer. It's time to welcome on a very special guest, Cleveland Browns insider Noah Weisskopf. What's going on, buddy? Thanks so much for joining us in studio.
Of course, always nice to be in here. And like Chris mentioned, the midges, man, they are all over the place.
That's kind of like the storyline today of everybody that's come through here. We've got a good cast of characters kind of all throughout the terminal. Our office is packed today, and the midges are the big
These back windows,
line.
we're looking at them right now, and all you see are just midges scattered across the back here. So they are here. It's not playoff time for the Guardians, so it's a little bit earlier than they normally show up here in the spring, but they are here in force.
Well, Noah, the big story that everybody's going to be talking about this week and then next week and the week following that, and pretty much up until training camp through the preseason. Ad nauseum is going to be the quarterback position and the four guys in that battle, and Deshaun Watson, who wants to play at some point too.
Depending upon which beat reporter you're talking to.
What do you make of this whole thing?
Well, it's certainly going to be a competition, right? There's going to be guys just getting reps, and of course, every single day there's going to be something that comes up where, oh, so-and-so stood out today, and so-and-so got the first reps. But Kevin Stefanski's been pretty adamant about not taking anything like that too deep. All the guys are just going to get reps. He just wants these rookies especially to just get out there, throw the ball, go with these receivers. But it's going to be the storyline, of course, like the quarterback position, especially in Cleveland, being with the two rookies there, the vets, and then Deshaun sort of just looming over everything. But yeah, we'll see what happens. The veterans, I think, have the leg up to be the starting quarterback week one. But these rookies do have a shot to do something and sort of stick and show why they should stick around long term. Dillon Gabriel, I think it's interesting with his experience. Where does that sort of flow into wanting to get him as many reps as possible? Where does that flow into, how does it compare to the veterans, I guess, right? Like Joe has so much experience in the league. Kenny has experience, has won before, is a Super Bowl champion. And then Dillon Gabriel has a record for playing so much in college. So it's like, where does that flow into the competition? But then Shadur will also get his chance to show the team and organization why he thought he should have been drafted much higher. So it'll be interesting. And of course, something that will follow all offseason long.
What do you think the order would be right now if the organization was to rank those 4 or 5 quarterbacks of where they think they would start? I think there's a difference there between what the organization thinks right now and what I think the fans think right now.
I think if I had to guess right now, just based on people around the league, conversations I've had, I think that Kenny Pickett would probably be your day one starter. They really do believe that he could be something to the effect of what Sam Darnold did last year. And sort of turn around his career and just a change of scenery. We've seen, especially here in Cleveland, right? Like Baker goes somewhere else and he just flourishes. Like I think that they believe a change of scenery can really help him. But Joe Flacco is, of course, looming, and a lot of players look up to him. A lot of players just want to learn from him, especially in that quarterback room. So I think that's an interesting dynamic. And I think Joe is right there close. But I think Kenny, I would give, is the number one quarterback right now if I had to guess going into week one. But Dillon Gabriel is there as well. I think Shadur is probably that last name there, being the latest pick in the draft, and then obviously with the two veterans. So I think that would sort of be the order if I had to guess right now of what they would go with. But of course, a lot of time and definitely a lot of different things can happen throughout OTAs and the training camp.
And of course, it's really early. And that's
Right.
exactly what I had put down. Pickett, Flacco, Gabriel, Sanders, Watson. That's the way I think the organization sees it. I think the fans think right now it's Flacco, then maybe Sanders at the top of that list.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to put Sanders. I don't think they will either, just because the A, draft status, B, the amount of experience that Dillon Gabriel has had in college. I think that does equate to the NFL in some capacity, and that's what teams liked about him, especially the Browns. I do know that teams varied in during the draft about where they saw Dillon Gabriel pretty vastly. Was pretty eye-opening. Hearing that some teams had him undrafted and some teams like the Browns had him as one of their top quarterbacks in the class. So I think that was interesting, but the Browns like his experience and like that he has shown that he's able to take care of the football at a high level on a consistent basis.
Noah, I don't even know how I want to ask you this. I don't think it's going to happen, but Deshaun Watson wants to play football again. I think he's been adamant and vocal about that, and some of the people that he's given those scoops to have kind of done the legwork of putting that out into the ether that Deshaun Watson wants to play football again. Could you see any way that he plays another snap for the Browns?
Is the door still open?
I personally can't see him stepping back on the field, but I think that it wouldn't be fair to close the door either, right? Like they're always, especially in Cleveland, there's always the possibility of something happening that you don't see happening. So I think that he's been he's been attacking this rehab, right? Like he has been nonstop and wants to prove people that he can get back on the field and play at a high level. So that's like his goal. So I would never rule something out like that, especially when a player has been in the facility just about every day at this point, rehabbing, and players are with him, seeing the work he's putting in. So I think he's probably earned the respect of a lot of his teammates as well. So I would never rule anything out. But again, I think that the quarterback situation goes, as I previously mentioned, with Kenny, Joe, and then the 2 draft picks there to follow.
Chris, I likened it to a horror movie where, like, it's a heart-inducing, panic-inducing 2-hour experience, and you finally think that you're at the end of it.
Think it's over.
Your
He's
heart
dead.
rate's finally starting to come down a little bit from the bad movie, and then it takes a 180 plot turn, and he's not dead, and the hand comes out from the tombstone, and there he is, ready to go. Is kind of what I've likened this Deshaun Watson.
I think there'd have to be 4 corpses on the field before that's even a possibility right now in Cleveland. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I think for the most part. I think it also depends on how he rehabs, right? Because this is a very serious injury, and he did it twice, really. So just to see how he's progressed and how he comes with the rehab, because a lot of guys can't get through the majority of the rehab. This is a very, like I said, serious injury. So I think a lot of it depends as well on how he comes out of it, and if they can get him reps. I don't know how early they'll be able to get him reps, but if they can get him on the field and sort of see how he can move, I think is the biggest thing here. Because mobility was something huge with Deshaun, especially when they went out and traded for him. They loved the fact that he can move and get out of the pocket, scramble, throw on the run, and even take off for a first down. So I think those are some really important things that the Browns and us, everyone watching, will have to monitor just to see what he's able to do.
Did it surprise you to see ownership come out and say, hey, we had a swing and a miss on Deshaun Watson?
It did. I don't think that we've ever seen, especially owners in general, I don't think we've really ever seen anything like that, especially in Cleveland. But I think it was really refreshing for Browns fans, is the sense I've gotten from talking to a lot of fans. Is it was refreshing that they finally admitted a mistake, because a lot of ownership would not admit a mistake. And for Jimmy to do that and tell everyone that, look, like, we messed up, I think that earned a lot of respect from a lot of the team. And now it feels like a sense of they're able to move on. I think that sort of gave them all a sigh of relief.
All right, last internet rumor, I guess, if you will, especially because Chris had mentioned the fans kind of think that it's Flacco, Sanders. Here's another thing, for the fans. There were rumors that the Browns were trying to trade for Chris Olave. Obviously, that would be pretty exciting. Chris Olave is pretty good. Get another Buckeye in here. And Andrew Berry is a guy that is always working the phone on, especially receivers that he likes. Do you see the Browns making moves to that receiver room?
I think in some capacity it's possible. With Chris, obviously, Albert Breer reported that they did talk to the Browns, and the Saints and Browns talked about it, as well as the Steelers. So, like you said, though, I think you hit it with Andrew Berry always is into getting receivers, especially that are proven.
Yeah.
So he's always going to explore those types of avenues to see what could possibly happen. Look at the Amari Cooper trade, right? That sort of came out of nowhere. Nobody thought that would happen. So I think it's possible. But I don't know if Chris Olave is the most realistic option. I think that they talked about it. Didn't really make sense for both sides. So they'll continue to look and monitor that veteran, especially wide receiver market.
I like that. Because you look at this receiver room right now, and it sans Jerry
It's lacking.
Jeudy.
But
It's lacking.
you also have to know that they got Deontay Johnson, right? And that's someone that they also believe can sort of make a little bit of a turnaround here in Cleveland. 3 teams gave up on him last year.
Yeah.
So this sort of feels like the last-ditch effort. I think the most important thing for him is mentally to be able to keep himself composed. But he's a Pro Bowl player, right? Like he played with Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
The two of them have chemistry. So if he can sort of be by Kenny's side, and if Kenny has the leg up right now to be the starting quarterback, and he's sort of his go-to guy throughout the offseason into training camp, I think that can be sort of your third receiver behind Jerry Jeudy and Cedric Tillman as well.
Okay, speaking of targets, we know Stefanski loves to use his tight ends, likes the 2 tight end sets if he can. Harold Fannin Jr., what have you seen out of him so far? I know it's very early, obviously only seeing him on the field a little bit there in practice. But what are you seeing out of him, and what do you think the organization sees him doing for them?
From everything I've seen and heard, like he should be a monster, right? Like him and David Njoku, the duo, is something that Cleveland really likes and is really excited for. I think each of them brings a separate skill set, but also they're both huge targets, right? Like they're huge tight ends. So the passing game, I think Kevin Stefanski and Tommy Rees can do a lot of interesting things in that aspect to have Harold Fannin out there. And being a Cleveland area guy, right? Like the Browns love that as well. So he's someone that's from here. They have a couple of those other guys on the team with Denzel and with Michael Hall. So just to have him here, the Browns love it, and the Browns are excited to see what they can develop him into, especially learning from a guy like David Njoku, a Pro Bowl type player. So I think their body types are pretty similar, so it'll be exciting for them.
Alrighty, we're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. We've got more Cleveland Browns talk with Noah when we return right here on the Big Play Cleveland Show.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Smart Choice Windows, energy-efficient products at an affordable price. Visit smartchoicewindows.com today.
Welcome on back into Big Play Cleveland right here on the Big Play Sports Network. I'm Nick Padone, lucky to be joined in studio with Cleveland Browns insider Noah Weiskopf. Noah, everybody's been talking about the rookie QBs. Obviously, that was the big headline. You take 2. Which other draft pick do you think could have the biggest impact this season?
I'm going to have to go with the linebacker they took. Carson Schwarzenegger. So I think that with JOK and the news of that, I think he's going to have the opportunity to step in day one and earn a lot of playing time. So I think that what they see in him and the ability to cover the field, I think that they really like him, and they're going to be able to plug him in pretty early on. And I think you can see him make a pretty quick impact. There's a spot there. There's veterans in that room already for him to be under. So I think that he could have the biggest impact outside probably of Mason Graham, who day one is going to be your guy inside, who they're really excited about, especially to pair up with Mike Hall once he's recovered from his injuries. So I think that without stating the obvious with Mason Graham, I think that the linebacker they took in the second round from UCLA could be that guy that makes another impact. And that's how it should be, right? Like your first 2 picks in the draft should be pretty much ready to go. And for the Browns to be able to plug both of them in and play day one, I think that it opens up the ability for them to develop him as well.
The other news is Mason Graham, who you mentioned there. He just signed with the Browns formally today. How big of a deal is that anymore? I remember back in the day where you have holdouts for first-round picks and things, and now it seems like it's all slotting and everything's kind of set other than maybe a few other details.
Yeah, I don't think it's a huge deal. And then you look at Cincinnati and what they've got going on with their edge. But yeah, overall, I think it's not a huge deal. Just like you said, some minor details in the contracts that need to get finalized. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's too big of a deal, except when you're Cincinnati. Apparently.
You mentioned the absence of JOK. Obviously, that's going to sting. I think the one thing that Browns fans are going to continue to hold on to this offseason until it's final, Nick Chubb.
Yeah. I don't think the ship has completely sailed, but you can't see much of it anymore. I don't think it's going to happen.
Look
again.
Like over Lake Erie right now,
right
through the midges. You can just see it off in the distance
and
out
there.
Noah.
Yeah. So I don't think it's going to happen. But of course, like I keep saying, you can't shut the door on really anything, especially in the running back room when injuries happen so quickly. You see sort of what Kareem Hunt was waiting for when he left, right? And the door opened during the season, of course, is a little different, but the door opened for him to go back to Kansas City. I don't think it's happening with Nick, at least as of now. I think the running back room is one of the underrated aspects of this team. I think pairing up a Quinshon Judkins and a Dylan Sampson, I think that can be really explosive. And the Browns really wanted to get younger there. And then having Jerome Ford as well. who took that pay cut sort of down with the guaranteed and then sort of promised himself a spot on the 53-man, it seems. But yeah, I don't think Nick is going to happen. Although what I was told is he's almost, if not at 100% right now, he's ready to go. And from working out and people I've talked to around him, he looks like prime Nick Chubb. Again, like getting onto the field and going through contact is another animal. But as of now, like he attacked that rehab. He's back to and ready to sign somewhere right now to make an impact somewhere. So I think that there is a team out there that can get him and get him the ball, I think is the most important thing. If you're the Browns, you don't want to bring him back and be sort of your last guy just to be there. I think that they believe to let him get an opportunity somewhere else to actually make an impact on the field. I know Chicago has been floated out there, but I think there's going to be a team that wants to take a flyer on him, that wants to give him the ball and bring him in.
Staying in the backfield, how do you see them splitting those carries between, Ford, Judkins, Sampson? What do you see?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think that Quinshawn is sort of your 1A guy. They took him early enough for him to be your bell cow and run between the tackles. But I think that each of them gives you some different home run hitting ability. Dylan Sampson, I think, will make an impact in year one. Being a later round guy, a lot of times those running backs don't get the opportunity. But with Cleveland's options, right, like two rookies, again, it's sort of like the quarterback situation, right? Yeah, you got your veteran, you got your two rookies. But at least at the running back position, you can divvy those up. And you want fresh legs, right? At the running back position especially, you want fresh legs. And so I think Quinshawn and Dylan Sampson will both be able to make an impact pretty early on with that combination of skill sets.
I don't want to get into like scary scenarios before the calendar really flips to June, but I do think it bears asking, if things go south for the Browns again, like they did last year, how long is Kevin Stefanski's leash, Andrew Berry's leash? I remember things got a little bit weird there in the Dorian Thompson-Robinson chunk of the season, where some people nationally were calling into question like what those two guys were doing. Still, I do think Jimmy saying that it was a swing and a miss and that you could put the blame on him and D for Deshaun probably helps Kevin and Andrew. Where do you fall on that, Noah?
Yeah, I don't think that they're on the hot seat at all. I know that's not exactly what you were asking, but I don't think that there's really any conversation going into the season of, if this happens or if this happens, right, then we might have to part ways. They're safe for the season, unless like something that is super unforeseen. But they're safe for the season. Jimmy really believes in Andrew and Kevin and their ability to work together. And like you said, I think the swing and a miss is a big aspect of that, understanding that they missed on something, and now it's going to take time and resources to build it back up again. So yeah, I don't think that there's any sort of short leash there, but I will say it's interesting. The first couple of games of the season, I think 5 or 6 weeks, they're going to have to figure out a way to scratch and claw their way to a couple of games because they have one of the toughest schedules I've seen in terms of the first 4 to 5 to 6 weeks with teams there. So they're going to have to figure out a way not only to scratch off a few wins, but to keep these veterans intact, right? Like you can't start the season 1-5, 0-5, like there's veterans on that team that want to play winning football and want to play football into the months of December with a chance to compete for a playoff spot. So they're going to have to figure out a way to win there at the beginning.
I can only imagine after Myles Garrett in the offseason he's had and making all that noise about being on a competitive team, and then you start 0-5. That could get ugly real fast.
That feels like it was a lifetime ago. We won't bring any more of that up. Make sure to go follow Noah on social. Got it up on screen at Noah Weiskopf. Appreciate you popping in here as always, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks,
Noah.
All right, we'll be back with more Big Play Cleveland right after this.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Infinity. Luxury experiences for those who dare to be different. Visit infinityofbeechwood.com today.
Welcome on back into the Big Play Cleveland Show. I'm Nick Padone for Northeast Factory Direct. Imagine walking in to a brand new kitchen. It's modern, it's functional, it's absolutely beautiful, and you don't have to worry about the stress, delays, sky-high prices. That's what Northeast Factory Direct delivers. Right now, you can get a full 10x10 kitchen cabinet set for just $2,600. These aren't flimsy particle board cabinets. They're solid wood, soft closed drawers, full extension glides, and the latest designer styles. You don't have to do it alone. Northeast Factory Direct has a team of experienced expert designers who make this whole process easy and painless. They listen to what you want, guide you through their selection, and show you exactly what it will look like using their free 3D design service. You could see what your kitchen will look like in a stress-free experience that makes your dream kitchen feel totally doable. Here's how simple it is to get started. Step number 1, you want to book an appointment. Step number 2, you want to bring the basic measurements of your space. And step number 3, you're going to see your dream kitchen come to life. The best part of it all is that the design consultation is completely free, $0, no pressure, no obligation. Go to the nearest Northeast Factory direct location to you, Cleveland, Euclid, Macedonia, North Canton, or go to northeastfactorydirect.com to book your free design consult. When you're there, make sure to ask for that extra special Big Play bonus. You're going to get a nice little hookup for listening to the Big Play Cleveland Show. You'll thank us later for that. It is time for Bringing the Heat with our guy, Jensen Lewis. Jensen, how encouraging was the Detroit Tigers series for you?
I think most importantly, the timing of the year, right, guys, where it's weird to not play the Tigers until almost the end of May. We're used to seeing at least one go around with each of these divisional opponents, at least by the end of April. So chance to sweep a 4-game series in enemy territory and be able to kind of know where you stack up, I think was great for the club. Late inning scenarios where they had to execute. Bullpen was fantastic for the most part. And then Tarek Skubal has just been unbelievable. So you tip your cap on Sunday morning for what he was able to put across. But by and large, you begin the week gaining a little bit of ground in the division always helps, especially this time of year.
Nick Enright made his MLB debut this week. How cool of a story is he?
It's awesome. I think every guy, right, teach their own about how, they overcome the different challenges they go through and also, just having that moment in of itself. We all remember where we were. I know I told you guys the story of it when I came out of the pen. I thought I jogged. They told me I sprinted. So, you'll never forget where you were, who you pitched against, who your first big league out was. So very neat story all the way around for Nick and hopefully the first of many outings for him.
Absolutely. Jensen, how much do you look at run differential? Guardians have a run differential of -16 this season. Obviously, 5 games over 500 doesn't make it seem that bad, but it is kind of one of those stats that creates a lot of buzz.
Yes, and I think it's indicative of maybe they've overperformed a little bit considering where that negative run differential is, Nick. And I think that's something to keep an eye on. We've talked about how the rotation inconsistency for the beginning of the year had really, been something that was overshadowed because the offense had executed in some late inning situations in which they were able to win some close games. Now, does that come back to the mean? We shall see. And I think the opponents upcoming here may be one of those factors. Obviously, the Dodgers always tough. No matter if you play them home or away, you're going to head to the Boogie Down next week in the Bronx to take on a Yankee team that arguably is the best outside of Detroit record-wise in the American League. So it's something to keep an eye on. And guys, just offensively, you're hoping for a spark, right? You're hoping for, something, someone outside of Jose. And I know Carlos dealing with being banged up here the last couple of days. But, yeah, that's something that you look at not only at the beginning of the year, but also when you get to the All-Star break of, okay, is our record, as Bill Parcells says, is our record who we really are? And again, right now, you take it, but you have to understand that those numbers are going to have to improve.
Shane Bieber, let's talk about an injury update. He's supposed to get some action apparently this Saturday out there in Arizona, continues his rehab work. What do you expect to see here? What does the timetable look for Shane Bieber?
Yeah, and Chris, and first and foremost, to be able to get out and get up against hitters in a live environment and where it's not simulated is really important, right? Anytime that you can now go out and quote unquote compete in a real life scenario, that's big. Again, the conservative nature will be there. They're not going to rush him. And I think just inning by inning and outing by outing, how he bounces back, what the recovery looks like, what is the stuff and the metrics kind of bear out of where he is at this point. Still obviously several weeks away from him getting to a rehab assignment, but I think that's encouraging in and of itself, knowing where that overall timetable may be.
Staying right there on injuries, how about David Fry? He's playing a little bit for the Clippers right now. When do we expect to see him up there with the big club?
Yeah, and Chris, that's the thing is for a guy that feels like, he heals maybe quicker than the average human being. You hope that at least from an offensive standpoint, selfishly, that he's ahead of schedule. And so to see where he is as far as the minor league stops are, that in of its own right is a really positive sign.
Jensen, it feels like Chase DeLauder time could be right around the corner. CJ Kafis, another guy that guards Twitter kind of all over. Should fans expect to see either one of these guys anytime soon?
It may be out of necessity, Nick. And also, again, you guard against trying to rush either of those guys to the bigs, and more so probably for Chase, just coming off the injury rehab and making sure he's had enough ABs to, number one, have the player feel comfortable about where he is for the day in and day out. Capus has been great to follow. Was down in Miami and Coral Gables doing the NC State in the Hurricanes game several weeks ago. And, they're very high on him as an alum and what he represented coming out of college and, his ascent now through the minor leagues. And hopefully what we are looking at is maybe a bat that can influence this lineup sooner than later.
Jensen, what is it about this Guardians team that makes them so streaky? It seems they've had 5 different streaks of 3+ wins, 3 different streaks of 3+ losses. Why is this team seemingly so streaky?
I think 2 things, and I know we've harped on the rotation too, where that has been a far cry from what we've been used to for the better part of 2 decades, and where this minor league system would just churn out guys that would hit the ground running. The offense is an issue, and I really the offense is going to be a problem that needs to be remedied if you're going to compete not only in this division, but getting back to October and trying to advance deep into that postseason. So the average, the on base leaves a lot to be desired. They're actually hitting home runs, guys. They're actually a tick above league average in that department, which I think is surprising, knowing what you lost in Naylor and what some of the young guys have been able to do. So you take the good with the bad. And again, this is right around that time of the year, fellas, where this front office will really take a deep dive into what they feel they're good at, what they obviously need help with, and what the market may bear outside the organization for potential reinforcements.
All righty, it is time for the Northeast Factory direct question of the week. We kind of maybe just hit on it there a little bit with the streakiness of the guards. But Jensen, why has this team struggled so much against left-handed pitching? They're 2-8 against lefties, 27-16 against righties, and the numbers are just way better against right-handed pitching.
One of the enigmas, right, Nick, when you look at just kind of how the lineup structure is, and outside of Kwani and Manzardo, you should have some platoon advantages for Stephen Vogt that just unfortunately have not come to bear just yet. So again, 2 months into it, a need to address, because if you think about just coming up, facing Kershaw for the Dodgers, and face Max Fried next week for the Yankees, and Carlos Rodon will be in there as well. So yeah, need to adjust here sooner than later, no question about it.
Hey Jensen, this week the PGA stops down in Columbus. We've got the Memorial. Do you have a pick? Is there a Jensen Lewis pick for the Memorial this season?
I am really a good, I guess, bittersweet. I've been going for the last handful of years. I'll be down in Athens, Georgia for the college baseball regionals with ESPN. But if I had to pick, Scotty's great, obviously. Yeah. Is this finally the week that Colin Morikawa puts it together? Win it at Jack's Place. You got to have precision iron play. You got to be able to putt really well. Chris, from being down there, topography of that course. I mean, you would talk about getting a marathon of steps in. That's a great course to walk with a group. So anyone that's got great iron play, I'll think of a long shot. A Sung Jae In would be a long shot to kind of look at. But maybe this is the week for Colin Morikawa to finally get it across the line.
Colin Morikawa right now plus 1,600. So number 3 on the list. You got Scheffler, Schauffele, and then Morikawa.
Look at that. He truly does it all. Make sure to download that free Big Play Sports Network app in the App Store on your Roku TV. We bring the heat with Jensen Lewis. Best guards talk around on this program every single week. You can catch it on demand in the free Big Play app. Jensen, thanks so much.
Talk to you next week, guys. Thanks.
All righty, guys. We'll be back with more Big Play Cleveland right after this.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Pure AV, luxury home automation. Experience your dream smart home by visiting pureavcorp.com.
Welcome on back into the Big Play Cleveland Show. It's time for our fill in the blank segment presented by Pure AV. If you haven't checked out Pure AV's showroom in Akron yet, you've got to find an excuse to get out there. They specialize in sales, service, and installation of a variety of smart home technologies. They do it all. They can help you get the perfect spot to watch sports this summer with their high-performance audio and video. They even offer hidden audio and video options that allow you to have clean, elegant interior spaces without sacrificing your favorite technology. They could set you up with invisible architectural speakers that hide in your walls and your ceilings, as well as disappearing TVs that vanish behind art and mirrors. Man, you got to visit pureavcorp.com, but go check out their showroom in Akron. It is truly like, I wish I could just hang out in there all the time when there's sports on TV, because they have the coolest stuff that you probably don't even know is out there. Visit them today, pureavcorp.com. All right, talking all things Browns and OTAs, fill in the blank time here, Chris. Blank will be the biggest story coming out of OTAs for the Browns after this couple weeks.
The same thing as it is going in. It's going to be the quarterbacks. We're going to be talking Shedeur Sanders. That's going to be the story of the summer, and it's going to continue after these OTAs. It's going to continue into the preseason, and it's going to continue into the regular season. That's what you get when you draft a guy like this. He's very polarizing for some. He's, an absolute star in the making for others, and I'd like to believe that I'm in that camp. I think that he's going to be good. But either way, he's going to be very interesting, and the nation's going to be interested in what happens in Cleveland with Shedeur Sanders.
Alrighty, staying with our Cleveland Browns, the Browns voted not to ban the tush push, and that is blank.
That's fine. I'd love to see us be able to execute something as effective as Philly does with the tush push. That's a great play for them, and we've seen some other teams. We've tried to implement it a little bit, but if you get a play that works and you could do it over and over again, why not? And I'd love to see the Browns have a play like that for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole tush push thing, man, I thought that was much ado about nothing. Like it's unfortunate that we're going to have to do this every single offseason.
Just stop it. Just stop it. Don't stop it through legislation. Don't stop it through the league office. Just stop it there on the field.
Chris, what's nice is you look at this Browns defensive line that they're trying to build here with Myles Garrett, Mike Hall, Mason Graham.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we're developing our own sweet little sauce to try to stop the tush push in the dream world of a Browns-Eagles Super Bowl in years to come. Let's get back to reality here. Shane Bieber should replace blank in the Guardians rotation when he returns.
This is just like Office Space. It's going to work itself out naturally. We just saw what happened with Ben Lively, right? Unfortunately, these pitchers come up with these injuries just right and left for us in the starters, and I expect that to kind of work itself out naturally. I am not going to peg a player who I'm going to take out of this rotation right now because I don't want to put that bullseye on their back.
Yeah, the one guy that I want to see hang around, at least for a smidge, we talked about it with bringing the heat with Jensen last week on the show. I got to see more out of Slade. I love what I saw in the outing against the Tigers. We need to see more out of him because I need a new Italian pitcher to hitch my wagon to here. Blank of the Cavs core 4 will be on the roster next season.
Let's not kid ourselves. All 4 are coming back. Kobe Altman told you that in his final presser there for this season, wrapping it up. And I expect them going into next year having all 4. We've presented some scenarios where maybe you move in Allen, and I'd be open to that, but I really don't think that scenario plays itself out.
Maybe a little wishful thinking for me, just to give a differing opinion. I'm going to say Jared Allen is the guy that is gone from this core 4, because when I went back and listened to Kobe Altman's media availability, he referenced the Celtics and the Nuggets, and then both of those teams made the small move.
They added something
to add something. Well, for the Cavs, in order to add something with this second apron, you got to match the contract almost to the dollar amount. So I think if the Cavs could find somebody to take Jared Allen, and there are teams that need centers. Look at the Los Angeles Lakers and what they almost gave up for Mark Williams from the Charlotte Hornets before that trade fell through right at the deadline. The Cavs could find a trade partner for Jared Allen, and maybe that's their move that keeps the core intact. You still have Darius, Donovan, and Evan Mobley, but you're adding something of substance to be like a Boston or Denver, and hopefully the Cavs could still be competing at this point of the season next year. Chris, big week for you, busy week for you down there in Columbus. Blank is your pick to win the Memorial Tournament this week at Jack's Place.
last year, I sat here and I said, Victor Hovland, it's going to be the year for him. I like his chances once again this week. He's a little bit down further in the FanDuel odds. I think he's right around 8th or 9th right now. But I like his opportunity here this week. I think his game fits very well for Muirfield. But I'll tell you, it's hard for me to go off of Scotty Scheffler right now. I'm going to pick Scotty Scheffler to go back-to-back to win it again. He's hot right now coming off that PGA victory, and I could see him really tearing it up down there at Muirfield.
Special thanks again to our great friends at Pure AV. Go check out their showroom in Akron. Your mind is going to be blown. You can check them out as well at pureavcorp.com. Make sure to download the Big Play Sports Network app to keep it locked in with all of our great shows. We'll see you next week right here on Big Play Cleveland.